Hello again guys, and welcome to tutorial number 12 in this digital car modification. And I believe we are covering color coding and color matching today, as I said I would. We're going to learn how to color code and color match bumpers, side skirts, spoilers, whatever you put on your car that you need to match with the car as accurately as possible. We're going to do, okay? Sometimes it can be very difficult to color match bumpers and side skirts, etc. to your car, depending on the image and the content of the image that you've used. So for example, if we just look at some of the images that I've got here that you'll recognize from previous tutorials, on this RS bumper here, you can see we've got quite high exposure and a big highlight here, and then we've got the darker tones sort of like literally just next to it. Okay, that's going to cause problems when you're color matching, and we'll cover that obviously a bit later on when we do this bumper. And the same here, we've got a high exposure here and low exposure down here on the side. This side skirt is pretty even in its exposure and colour, so it's not going to be too bad. This one's going to be pretty easy to do. But it's just to obviously give you a variety of different things that you may come across and ways to overcome it, hopefully. So we'll get started, guys, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the side skirt first, okay? The reason why we're doing this one first is because it's very simple and it just shows you the basis of colour matching to your car. Okay, there's a few ways you can do it, guys. You can literally just do the same as in the paint tutorial: image adjustments, hue and saturation, select the red channel, and then you obviously change the color to blue, and then you know, it's pretty much it. You know, you kind of matched it there already, which what else can I say? That's pretty much it. So if you go to OK and zoom out, as you can see, it's pretty much color matched to the car, and it looks like it belongs on there. If you're not 100% happy with the color itself, okay, as you can see there's a little bit of red here, you can always select this tool, which is your color replacement tool. Okay, select by using the Alt button, and this eyedropper tool will come out. Select a color that you want to paint onto it. So usually go a bit darker, and then you can paint the color directly onto the side skirt. And as you can see, it gives a better blend in. If we zoom out, you've got a nice sort of side skirt there with the same sort of shadowing as you've got on the side of the car anyway. So that's how to basically do your side skirt. And again, if you like that color but just want it a bit darker, go to image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and you can just drop the brightness to match, you know, what you're looking for. So that looks pretty good. The contrast, obviously, you know, adjusting the contrast changes the range between the shadows and the highlights of the actual image. So if you want more definition, you need to put your contrast up. If you want less definition, you put it down, and as you can see what results you get. So we'll leave that like that. So that's our side skirt pretty much done. Okay, now let's look at more complicated images. Okay, right, this bumper's going to give us trouble, guys. Now the reason for this, if I was to do the same thing, go to image adjustments, hue and saturation, select the green channel, okay, and then change it to blue, this is what happens, guys. And the reason for this is literally because Photoshop is finding it difficult to distinguish between the different tones of the colors within this image. So what we can also do, and I'll show you as well what the problem is with this method, select the green channel as we did, drop your saturation, hold down shift. I've covered this in the paint tutorial, guys, so check it out if you don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to add these colors to my selection of desaturation. Okay, and then, you know, if you were to try it in this method and put your saturation back up and then try and change it to blue again, as you can see, you're still having the same problem. Okay, and that's again because of the exposure and the highlight within the image. So how do we overcome this? Right, well, it's not easy to do, okay, and it doesn't give you 100% color match, but it does do a pretty good job. Okay, what I'm doing now, guys, I'm just going to mask out the part that I don't want to change a bit roughly, so you can see the change on the color itself. And what we're going to do is we're just going to even out the tones and the exposure, okay, of the bumper itself, to try and let Photoshop distinguish what it needs to colorize a bit better than it does at the moment. With all these highlights and mid-tones and shadows, it's finding it very hard to sort of even out the color for us. So we're hopefully going to fix that and get a better color match using some other tools that Photoshop provides us with to overcome this issue. So let me just get around these brows. Again guys, if this is the first tutorial you're watching, hold down shift while you make your selection to make multiple selections. If you don't, you can only make one at a time. Right click, select inverse. Now what we can do, okay, we can go to image adjustments, hue and saturation, drop your saturation all the way down. Okay, once you've done that, we want to basically even out the exposure and the contrast of the bumper to make it easier to paint. Okay, so you go to image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and as you can see, if I adjust the contrast up, it shadows the shadows more and highlights the highlights more. We don't want that, we want it a bit more even. So as you can see here, we've got the bumper a bit more even for what we want. Okay, and then we're going to drop the brightness just to give it a bit of a nicer surface that we can paint on, to give us a good base color to match our bumper with our car. Okay, so I'd say maybe 110. Well, it's up to you, it's going to differ from image to image, but that's pretty cool. Right, go to OK, and then I'm going to adjust the exposure, because what the exposure does, it actually darkens your bumper without affecting the contours, because the more you darken, the more the less the definition you have around the detail on a bumper. With the exposure, as you can see, it darkens it, but it maintains the detail. Okay, so it's a pretty useful tool when you are doing color matching. Okay, if you need to get your bumper darker because it's very overexposed, use the exposure tool. It's going to help you a lot. Okay, go to OK, and what you're going to do, guys, is you're going to select the color replacement tool here, paintbrush. Hold down Alt, select a color on the car itself. Okay, you can even hide the bumper and select the color from underneath if you want a more accurate sort of resemblance, but this isn't going to be the final color. And then you're just going to paint onto the bumper itself, and as you can see, you do get a nice match, but it's not perfect. Okay, but that doesn't matter. That's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for a base coat to give us you know, the tool to get a closer color match. So what we'll do now is we would go to image adjustments. You can do hue and saturation, you can do variations, and you can do color balance. I'm going to try and do all of them if we've got enough time, just to show you how it works. Select your blue channel, and then play around with the saturation of the car, the color of the car, the lightness and darkness, you know, to try and get that match as perfect as you can. Okay, and it's going to take a while, guys. Sometimes you're going to need to slide everything around a couple of times just to get roughly where you want to be. Okay, because what tends to happen is when you're trying to get a darker blue, you tend to go a bit purple, and then you're like, well, I don't want that color, I want a bit more blue, and then, you know, it's going to keep going. It's going to be like an evil cycle, guys. So, you know, just be patient, keep adjusting to what you're looking for, and you'll get there eventually. Okay, so I mean, that's a pretty good match. As you can see, obviously it's not matching properly because I've got these highlights here, but that's fine, we can fix that. And you know, I could just smudge it in just for example's sake. Okay, and as you can see, it'll blend in a bit better with the bodywork. But if you want the fitted look, obviously once you've done your selection without these sort of black edges, it will be just pure blue, and it won't look bad at all. It will just look pretty much the same. I'm just going to get an eraser, put the opacity up a bit. So, I mean, that's pretty much color matching, guys, on bumpers that have differences in exposures, because you will come across it quite a lot where you see an image on Google and you sort of think, yeah, I want that on my car, but the exposure of the image, because maybe, you know, when they took the picture the sunlight was hitting it or whatever, you know, it will cause problems. But this is one way to overcome it. Okay, so as you can see, what we've done, if I hit Control D, we've kind of color coded it into the car itself, but before we didn't have a chance because of the fact that, you know, the exposures were different. And you know, if you look from there, it does actually look quite realistic. We're not going to have time to cover the front bumper here. Just quickly, I'm going to go through the other image adjustments just for you. Color balance here, you can select which colors you want to affect. So if we go to highlights and add a bit more blue in the highlights, as you can see, you can further color match to get a more accurate depiction of what you're looking for. So use this in conjunction with what you've just learned, and then you can also go to image adjustments, variations, and then you can add more blue to your selection, go to OK, and it makes it a bit more blue. And as you can see, all those tools work together to get the perfect color match. Okay, so use them all until you're happy with what you've got. Okay, so guys, questions or comments as always. I'm sorry it's rushed, but we're running out of time. so I'm going to have to cut it short there. But that's pretty much how to do it. If you guys have any problems color matching any bumpers, just let me know, and I'll obviously give you some advice as to how to do it, because you know it's just a bit difficult covering all the different bumpers and stuff in this video. So that's basically color matching, guys. I hope it's helped. Questions and comments as always are welcome. Tutorial requests welcome as always. Please subscribe if you like my videos, rate them, and again, if you have bumpers you're having trouble with, let me know. I'll try and help you as soon as possible. Okay, thanks for watching.